What is up, everybody? So it's a long weekend where I live. In Canada, it's Thanksgiving. So if there's any fellow Canadians out there watching this, happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you all had a tremendous weekend. Now, a couple of days ago, October 5th to be exact, Jerry Buting tweeted this out, and I wanted to bring it to you all because I know a lot of the people on this channel do not have Twitter and miss a lot of the tweets from Jerry Buting, Kathleen Zellner, etc. This is what Jerry Buting said, and I feel it holds to be very true. We'll never get the full truth from a production pushed by Ken Kratz and his agent and by cops. They are deeply invested in protecting the illusion of justice, not the truth. But in the end, truth wins. Hashtag truth wins. And I couldn't agree more. Ken Kratz, the police involved, the detectives, the investigators, everybody is absolutely going to work as hard as possible to protect their narrative. And I say the word narrative a lot because that's what it is. Making a Murderer had a narrative they wanted to push. Everybody out there saying that they edited things. Of course they did. It was a documentary they were making. They were telling a story, and things that didn't fit the story got left out. Convicting a Murderer is doing the exact same thing. It's wild how people can't see the exact same thing happening. It's just because they're a fan of one side of the story or the other. I totally get it, but their argument always falls flat when they claim like, oh, Convicting a Murderer isn't editing anything. Of course they are. They're leaving all kinds of stuff out, and that's because it doesn't fit the narrative of the story that they are telling. Every documentary ever made, and I said this a million times, but it just keeps popping up in the comments below, so I'm going to keep talking about it until people stop asking about it. Every documentary ever made has a narrative by the person that is behind it, the person that has the idea to make a documentary about any given topic. They have a narrative, they have a story that they want to tell, and they are going to leave things out that doesn't fit the narrative of the story they want to tell. And then you'll see another version of another documentary about the same topic that could be very different, even though it's about the same thing. Like, I'm currently listening to a podcast called Defense Diaries about the John Wayne Gacy tapes. The guy that's doing it is the son of one of the lawyers that represented John Wayne Gacy. And he has 15 hours of tapes that has never aired before. And his story and those tapes are very different than what you hear on I think it's the Netflix documentary, the John Wayne Gacy tapes. But the difference between this guy's tapes and the tapes you hear in the one on Netflix are very different. These tapes were never heard before. 15 hours. So this version of the story, and it's the guy's son, like the John Wayne Gacy's lawyer's son that is doing the podcast, so he would have information that is very different from the people that did the Netflix one. So both are excellent, just different versions of the same story. But yeah, so that's why, like, people are always talking about the Making a Murderer edited things. Convicting a Murderer is also editing things. It's just very strange that some people, and they're probably doing it on purpose to get a reaction from people, that they don't see that, like, it's literally the exact same thing. I am really enjoying watching Convicting a Murderer, and a lot of people may be surprised by that, but I like hearing the other side of things. It doesn't mean that I'm going to believe it, but it also doesn't mean I'm not going to believe it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to believe it and be like, oh, this person said this. It's just going to get me to look into things more myself. Just because Ken Kratz is on screen or Andrew Colburn's on screen or producer Brenda or whoever is on screen saying this happened, I'm not going to take their word for it. That's ridiculous. I'm going to go look into it myself. Just like I didn't do it with Making a Murderer. I looked at everything that was on screen and I'm like, I'm sure there's more to this. So I went out and read books and did my own research and came to my own conclusion. Just like what I'm doing right now, like I just said about Convicting a Murderer. They say stuff on screen, I'm like, heh. So I go look into it and then I make my own decision based on the information I find that is omitted from Convicting a Murderer, things that they just didn't tell, like the full version, the full story, or things like that. But that's to be expected, in my opinion. Anyway, that's what Jerry Buting stated in his tweets. You're never going to get the full truth from a production pushed by Ken Kratz and his people. I wonder how much involvement Ken Kratz actually had in the making of Convicting a Murderer? Did he have any say in the editing? Did he have anything to say with like what was put out on screen? I would love to see a sit down with Sean Reck and Ken Kratz post Convicting a Murderer and see what they say. Maybe like a wrap-up show type thing. I think I talked about this before. I think it would be very cool for them to do a wrap-up type show with Sean Reck and Ken Kratz, Andrew Colburn. All the people involved, I'd say Candace Owens, but she's not as knowledgeable, it's not a knock, on the subject as the people that were involved. But it would be cool to perhaps see her host it. But yeah, it'd be very cool to see. But what do you think? What do you think of that tweet by Jerry Buting? Do you believe that there's any way possible you could get the full truth from a documentary, from a story being pushed by Ken Kratz? Let me know. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.